routine programs here, and we started WBUniversity. This is class number 3. We're the only university in town without a football team. That breaks your heart. So this is class number 3. There's one more this semester. That's in December. That's called Creating a Bird-Friendly Yard. And my part will be talking about all the plants and flowers you can put around your yard to not only please the birds, including hummingbirds, but also plume butterflies. And then we take a break in January, and then make sure, mark your calendar, February, pair bonding, and how the courtship works for all these different species. The fascinating thing about birds, they're all slightly different. And then I think April is, we're going to welcome back to hummingbirds, and then I forget the other 2, but we'll come up with something. So let's get going. Anyway, what I'm going to do before we bring out our special guest and all of her special guests is talk about a little basic bird Owl-ology, how they're so special. Obviously, we know primarily they're nocturnal, they're active at night. See if I've got everything going. They can fly silently. Their wing feathers are not a sharp blade like, say, a crow. They're serrated and fluffy, so when they flap their wings and fly down, that poor mouse never hears death coming to them. They're silent flyers. And I love that photograph, but that's how they're able to do it. And look how they're built. Circular face, a facial ruff that pulls in the sounds, and they all basically have that. And what does that remind you of? A satellite dish. Typically, they hear their prey first, and then they turn to look for it. So they're built for sensory input. They're sitting there silently, waiting to hear or see supper. Yes?
Where would the gray gray's ear holes be?
That's further northward here.
Where is its ear holes? Where does it direct the sound to?
I've been asked about the ear holes. We'll get there. Thank you very much. I think first we're going to cover the eyes. It's me holding the skull of a barred owl. If you notice the skull, it's got massive, massive eye sockets for the eyes. They have a tinier brain. I know we think they're setting up there thinking about the great meaning of life. They're super wise, but truthfully, there's processing senses. They have the back of they have the optical lobe like we do, but that's just for interpreting what they're hearing and what they're seeing. They have massive eye sockets because their eyes are really shaped like a pear. We see the front edge of it, but the retina is huge in the back for gathering light. They have more rods than cones, so they're seeing detail more so than color. Color's not that important. A gray mouse is a gray mouse. So they see detail more so than color, but they have massive retinas at the back. So that's a basic skull of an owl. Here's the hearing. Their hearing. They do not have funnels, pinnas, like you and I have. They do have canals, but they're offset. The left side, the left is lower than the right, and not only are they offset, I was born in the Smoky Mountains, so my ears may not match. I think, second cousin and first cousins. Anyway, now the left is lower than the right, and so, but also that's horizontally, but vertically they're off center too. What that enables them to do, it's like, wow! And you can't really see, you'd have to really pull the feathers back to actually see the ear canal. It's hidden in there. But what that allows them to do is pinpoint a sound instantly. If I hear something, I can usually say, well, it came in front of me or behind me, that's it. But if they hear something, boom, they can spot it quickly and turn quickly and look for the noise. And when they see the noise, that's typically when they launch themselves. So this is, oh my God. I love that bird. Anyway, so the left is lower than the right. Remember, and the ear tufts that some owls have, they're not ear tufts, they're just tufts of feathers. They use it to look intimidating, like that guy's looking intimidating, or to help them hide in camouflage to blend into the tree bark. So they're not ear, even though the books call them ear tufts, they're not ears at all. You'll see probably examples of that shortly. And they have a fairly disgusting, or I hope everybody hasn't recently finished breakfast. Anyway, before they can eat again, they have to regurgitate a pellet. They will tear a mouse up. They don't necessarily have to swallow it whole, but they rip it apart. Head first, they eat the head first. Lynn McCoy taught me this. The brain has the most nutrition, and they know that. So they'll eat the head first and all the way down, but then their stomach does the chewing. So what's left in the tongue is hair and bones. But they gotta clear that out before they can eat again. So eventually, yeah, I have seen it, look, and then, okay, I'm ready to eat again. That's the photograph I took, that's a great horned owl pellet, and that's my house key to give you a sense of how big they are. A great horned owl pellet. Screech owl's pellets are about the size of a piece of candy or something like that, like a jelly bean. And locally, we have 6 possible species of owl. Today you're seeing the top 4. Wow! The only ones we don't have yet are northern saw-whet owl, and that's a eventually today you're going to see a screech owl. A northern saw-whet is even smaller. Wow. Northern saw-whets nest at the very crest of the Smokies along the Appalachian Trail. If you ever want to hear one or maybe see one, go up to Indian Gap, Newfound Gap, and then out to what is going to be renamed Clement's Dome. And in Indian Gap, pull over May into early June, that's their nesting season. And you may, if the conditions are right, hear a northern saw-whet owl up there. Now we're now learning that they do kind of come down slope in the wintertime, and so obviously food would be very hard to find at the top of the Smokies. And then the bottom one on the list, the short-eared owl, that's the one that's only here occasionally in winter. They'll turn up at maybe Seven Islands or Cades Cove. They're meadow owls. They're not forest owls. So they'll come if they're not finding food further north. They may show up at those 2 places. The local birders go nuts and tell everybody a saw-whet is back in Cades Cove on Hyatt Lane. So you get there right about sunset, and you'll start seeing this fluttery owl flying like a moth over the plain. So that's the 6 species that are possible in East Tennessee. I've been asked about snowy owls, typically not here. That's the Harry Potter owl. They more often will show up more in the Nashville area. They're an owl of the tundra, so they will come to flat places, or they'll show up maybe at an airport, but not here in East Tennessee. We're too mountainous. Maybe in again around Nashville. I think it's your time.
Oh,
you want to go get a bug?
Okay. Okay. I'm not drinking water, just listening.
Okay, that's my part.
Okay. Are you all ready to meet some birds?
Yes. Yeah, right. That was filler. Anyway, again, that is Lisa Thomison. She and with a lot of help from Chris. He's around too. This is Chris. They take care of these wonderful birds. Not only owls, but hawks. Oh wait, how is that the Peregrine Falcon?
He's doing well, he just had his checkup.
And he'll be released soon.
Very soon. He's a rarity around here, we don't see many peregrines.
Yeah, we don't, that's a bird we almost eliminated from DDT, just like we almost eliminated eagles, but they slowly made it come back, and they were brought back to the Smokies at Greenbrier Pinnacle and at Allen Cave Bluff in 1986. And so they are slowly building numbers, and to have one, I know.
They're not listening to you anymore.
Whoa. Okay, without further ado, everyone be calm. She'll walk down.
This
and
is
talk
little
about the
dude.
bird.
Were you guys talking about the peregrine?
We were.
I did.
Yeah, we do have a peregrine in care at our house right now. It's a tundra subadult peregrine falcon that was probably migrating to Texas and got hit by a car. So Dr. Jones, who's over the American Eagle Foundation, is going to use drones and lures to recondition him after, well, we get him well at our house. Then he'll take over. This is just part of the first journey. This is little dude. He is a barred owl. If you all knew Lynn McCoy, this was her barred owl for many years. And then when she became sick with cancer, she asked me to take care of little dude. This has been, what, 3 years ago now? So I took little dude, and for a full year, 12 full months, no exaggeration, he would have nothing to do with me. Nothing. Because I was not his person. Well, Lynn said, I want to come see little dude at your house. I said, okay. So she came over there. Well, he saw her, she saw him, and they hooted, and everybody talked. And something in his little owl brain clicked. And ever since that day, and this has been a while, 3 years ago, he has accepted me. And now we're as tight as you can believe. I mean, he's even escaped and calls to me in the trees and came right back to me. I mean, we are very bonded now. When I get home from work, yeah, I'm going to make my way all around. And who wanted to see an ear? Because little dude will be cooperative and let me show his ears. Okay, so, are you ready? Are you ready? So they're right behind his eyes here on the edge of his disc. And I will come back there, guys. So I'm gonna walk him back so you guys can see. And this little dude is thought to be 12 years of age. He came to Lynn from TWRA, 12 years ago, and I've had him for 3 of those years. I'm hoping his lifespan in captivity will go up to 20, but in the wild, it's about half that. It's a big canal, you see it?
That's a lot bigger than.
Yeah, he's got really big ear flaps.
How come he's just born?
I don't know little dude's backstory because Lynn had him for so long. I think, though, just from the old paperwork I found that Lynn's daughter gave me, that he came in as a very small owlet, and he may have bonded with people, but he sure didn't like me that first year. And I tried everything. I tried to hand feed him, he wouldn't accept it. But he does the who cooks for you, but he also does something called a monkey call, which is really wild. And he'll go whoop 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 wahoo. And he has a wild lady friend that sits in the magnolia tree next to his enclosure, and they talk. But he will answer me before he will answer her. He is beautiful. He's being actually pretty good about it. Normally he starts to sneak around his face dip. He is a bard now, so it's a B-A-R-R-E-D, and they were named for these bars of color across the breast. So little dude looks like he has black eyes, but they're actually very dark brown. When he's out in the full sun, you can see. Casper was an older bird, and he came back to us because she was a long rehab. I will listen to him. The little dude, like I was saying, is a barred owl. He's a 12-year-old male. I know he's a male mainly because of his size and his weight. In the raptor world, excluding vultures, because male and female vultures are similar in size, but in the raptor world, like eagles, falcons, owls, hawks, the female's always bigger. About 15%, 20, 15, somewhere around there. The females sit the eggs, brood the babies, so they have to be a little bit bigger and they kind of hold the fort down. And the man bird, the parent bird, dad bird, runs grocery runs all day long and all night long. When the babies are getting bigger and starting to branch out, you will see males hunting in the day as well at night because they have to. So I want to see if little dude will call one more time. Will you call? Well, I don't think he's going to, but he will later. He always does. He eats about 45 grams of meat a day. All of the birds that are here with us today and all of the birds that I take care of for are strictly carnivorous. A lot of people mistakenly think that they will eat birdseed. They do not. They all eat meat. So he eats about 4 fat mice a day that I hand feed him or put on his swing. In the summertime, Little Dude takes a bath every day in his baby pool with river stones on the bottom. He is a wonderful education bird, and we just love him at our house. Like I said, his female friend that comes is much larger than him, and she sits in the magnolia tree beside his enclosure, and they really, really talk. And certain times of the year, she'll come every single day. Do you guys have questions about Duder before I put him up?
Any questions?
Do you feed them live mice or dead mice?
I feed dead mice except to owlets or hawklets that are getting ready to go out in the wild. Who asked that? I'm trying to, there you are, okay. Before I release a young bird, a juvenile bird out into the wild, I need to know that they can hunt. So I do provide live prey at that time, depending on what kind of bird it is. It could be live quail, it could be live mice, live rats, that sort of thing. And if they pass mouse school, as we call it, then I know they're ready to go. But these guys, no, they don't work for their food. They're very spoiled. So they know when I'm coming to feed, everybody gets excited, a Little Dude especially. You want to see his ear? Okay. Okay, one more time. That's okay. Now we can, yes.
What is his hearing range for hunting?
What, I'm sorry, his territory?
Hearing range?
It depends species to species, but I'm thinking with the barred owl, I remember reading something about them being able to hear the rustling of leaves and the heartbeat about 3 meters away from them. And their eyes are 30 times more sensitive than ours, and their hearing is just superb. When we get an owl, if it's an adult in that's been hit by a car, frequently they will lose one eye just from the impact. But you can still release an owl with one good eye, because if they've got one good eye, that's excellent, and their hearing is so keen and so superb that they can still hunt and live successfully. Yes?
I've been told that they did a study with owls and that they put them in a dark room and they put out 3 rats, one heavier than the other.
Yeah.
And the rat knew to go to the heavier footsteps that it heard.
Isn't that interesting? They're amazing. It is thought that owls see in shades of gray, but hawks and falcons see in color.
Can I get the ear?
Of course. What did you ask me? Oh, about necks. Okay, everybody always wants to know if their neck can turn all the way around. Almost. They have 14 neck vertebrae. We have 7. Even giraffes only have 7. They're just really big ones. So with the 14, they can almost go all the way around. Almost.
We do 270 degrees, whereas even at the best, we can do 180. So 270 is directly backwards.
I think so.
He gets tired of me getting in his ear.
How long does it take till they can fly after they fledge? My son had one in his yard, and it was in the tree, and they kept like trying to get up the tree, and then it would fall down again.
Probably a brancher. When they're hatchlings, of course, when they hatch out, they have just a little down on them. It's just a little down, and then they will slowly start to get their pin feathers and stuff in. But raptors grow really fast and mature really fast in the wild because they have to. So they're usually fully feathered out, I'd say 2 or 3 months. And then as far as flying well, that takes a little bit longer. They all go through a phase called branching. Hawks do it too, and that's when they get in all their trouble, because they have no life experience, and they leave their nest area and they fall and hit the ground. And if they're old enough, they can usually climb back up, but sometimes they're not, or they get into traffic, or there's a neighborhood dog or a cat, and that's how I end up with them. So branching is a bad time for everybody. At my house, we get so many owlets and hawklets every year, starting in March with great horned owls.
Question over there.
Yes.
I was just gonna ask if you could come this way a little bit, so we could see as well.
You want me to come over there?
Yes.
Okay.
Just down this aisle maybe? Yeah.
You okay? Okay, I'm gonna see if he will let me see it here. He gets tired of me doing it. He's more ears.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get the next bird out if that's okay.
B-A-R-R-E-D, barred, for the stripes on the tummy. Their preferred habitat is woods near water. Way to go, little dude. Woods near water, and we have a lot of woods near water around us, so it's possible you have them. You just have to listen for them and watch for them. Owls are easier to see this time of year. When the leaves are coming off the trees, you can see them sitting out. If you think you got a barred owl, like little dude, you can put up a barred owl box. And that's this one here, the bigger one. And they will use it to roost in during the day and maybe raise a family in it if they can attract a partner. They typically start, the mnemonic to remember their call is, tell me, Kate, remind me.
Who cooks for you? Don't worry about that right
Okay, let me do the, who cooks for you, who cooks for y'all? Ho, 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 ho. That's what you'll hear. You'll hear the male and female courting each other, typically in February. Who you got? Whoa, okay.
This is Beak. He is bird of the month here, great horned owl. He's a male. Again, I know that by his size. The female would be slightly bigger. They have one of the strongest grips in the animal kingdom. Upwards of 500 pounds of pressure per square inch. They are in the top 3 largest owls. There's great gray, there's snowy, and there's great horned owls. However, of those 3, these guys are the fiercest. Their nicknames are tigers of the sky, and it is well earned. They are extremely fierce. They nest very early here in Tennessee, same time as bald eagles do, all over the country. So they have a contentious relationship with bald eagles. Even though a bald eagle is much larger than Beak, their grip is very comparable to a bald eagle's grip. And they willingly will fight and try to steal the bald eagle's nest sites, and sometimes win, often. So the Beak is what we would call an apex predator. Their diet is one of the most varied of all birds of prey. Once they reach their first year of life, they don't really have natural enemies anymore, because there's not really anything that's gonna mess with them. If it's a bobcat, of course, they're just gonna take to the trees, but any other bird is not really gonna pick a fight with a horned owl. Golden eagles do occasionally take horned owls, but that's very occasionally. Beak, like if he was living out in the wild, he would eat snakes, he would eat lizards, he would eat rabbits, he would eat skunks. Their sense of smell is very poor. So one of their favorite meals is a skunk. So, because they can't smell it. So they come down with 4 talons on each foot, which they're incredibly strong. They grab the skunk, and these are stop and wait predators. They are not working like a falcon hunts. They're not expending a lot of energy. They're stop and wait predators. And because their diet is so varied, that's very effective. So let's just say a skunk walks by, they come down and they stick 8 of these in. It's probably over really fast. If it's not, they take them up to a tree limb and they disembowel and behead their prey. They are to be respected. When I pick up a horned owl, I usually wear Kevlar lined gloves that come all the way up to my shoulders. Kevlar is what they use in the law enforcement's bulletproof vest. I've had a big female owl, great horned owl, pierce that before and take me to the floor. So they are very much to be respected, and I just think they're beautiful birds. They are monogamous. They are extremely devoted to one another, and they are pair bonding right now. Like Stephen said, there's courting right now, and if they are long-term mates, they're just reaffirming that bond. And then come January or February, eggs will be laid. And then March is when their owlets are branching out, and that's when we end up with great horned owlets. Now, what we try to do is re-nest them and take them back to their nest. If you are able to successfully re-nest a great horned owl, because the parents are so devoted to their owlets, you want to wear a face shield, you want to wear very thick clothes, because they are going to try to kill you over their owlets. Like I said, they're monogamous, they're devoted to one another as well. So usually when they're fighting with the bald eagles, they tag team them. And bald eagles, like all falcons and hawks and eagles, cannot see well at night. Well, great horned owls see great during the day and great at night. So frequently they'll wait until nighttime and attack the bald eagles on their nest and knock them off and try to claim the nest. But they fight them in the daytime too, they're just fierce. Yes, Beak came to me from Lynn McCoy. He was about this big, maybe a week old, and a lady had brought Beak to her because the lady's dog was carrying Beak around in his mouth, very gently, did not puncture him at all. And then Beak was just so small, Lynn didn't even know what he was. So I came over there to get him, and he hopped up in my lap, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna have trouble with you because you're already associating people. Well, I raised him, this was 4 years ago. I raised him, he passed mouse school, we released him, and he came home in 6 days. And my son, who named him Battle Beak Thunderclaw, which I didn't say all that, he came in and he said, Mom, Beak's in a tree outside. And I said, no, he's not, it's been 6 days. Well, he was. And he was making owlet food begging calls. He was going, rat, rat. And I went, Beak, and he went, rat. And he slid down the tree, and I happen to have 4 dead mice in my pocket. And he's been with me ever since. He's a heavy bird, even for a male, he's heavy, and they are all extremely well insulated. Beak has an owl box in his enclosure. It's like a doghouse, but owl size, and he never gets in it. I don't care if it's 10 below. He is impervious to cold, but he uses that as a gross pantry to put all his dead stuff in. So I have to go out there and clean that. And remember what Stephen told me, they cannot move their eyes in their sockets. So there's all this head maneuvering, and that's where those 14 neck vertebrae really come into play, because they have to reposition themselves all the time to be able to see. And then when I go in their enclosures a lot, it looks like their heads are on backwards. It almost feels like fur. Because in the wild, he would wear his beak and talons down naturally, because squirrel hide and skunk hide is a whole lot tougher than mouse hide. So I try to provide as many wild foods as I can to all of them, because none of them like having their talons or beaks trimmed, and the less I have to do that, the better. Especially with him, because I have to lay him on his back, and he tries to do owl sit-ups the whole time. It's fighting, and it's just bad.
You said you have a berry diet, but it's still all carnivores, right?
Oh, yes. Everything these guys eat is meat. So, scissors, snakes, skunks, rats, voles, skinks. When I have owlets too, I try to provide them everything. These guys, because they have such a berry diet, they raise much slower. So it takes me 6 months to get them ready to go out in the wild, or more, because I want to provide snakes and lizards and skunks and raccoons and, opossums, which I get off of the road. Hey, am I coming?
Right.
I'm coming.
I don't know if Lisa mentioned this, but Beak is a great foster dad.
Yes. Oh, this is important. You guys listen to my husband, Chris.
So when we do get owlets, when we do get great horned owlets in, the less contact you can have with them, the better. obviously, because we're wanting to release them into the wild. And Beak, like any great horned owl, will raise owlets from any other great horned owl. So we put him in with him, and he teaches them how to owl. And he does a great job. He's done that for us several times.
And then you can release the owlet.
That's right, with very little contact with humans.
That's amazing. Is there any chance that you could mix species, or would that be a disaster?
Somebody's getting a meal one way or the other that way. Ideally, you're right where they came from when we know. We don't always know.
I don't know if you guys heard that or not,
How long
but
do these
Beak
owls
is a
live in
foster
captivity?
dad.
In
So even
captivity.
though he's non-releasable and he's just panting, he's heavily feathered, he's probably a little
I'll tell you in a
stressed under a lot of people again, but he's okay. When we had great horned owlets come in March,
wow.
I immediately put them in with Beak, because in the wild, both the parent birds raise those owlets. Okay, so Beak knows this, and as soon as I bring the owlets, he sidles up right next to them, and they calm right down. He's calm, and he is the one that taught our last batch. We released 2 that were bigger than him about 2 months ago, and he taught them how to go to mouse school. So it was live prey time, and all of the the 2 great horned owlets that were in there, they were like, what is that? You know, and he was like, here, I'll show you, and then it was on. You know, they were like, oh, okay, this is what we need to do. And then they did it several more times, because we had like 40 live prey, and I knew they were ready. You know, because I knew they'd be able to take care of themselves and know what to do.
Lisa, we had a question about lifespan.
Oh, great horned owls are exceptionally long-lived, much more than any other bird that we have here with us today. The oldest one in captivity on record was, how old, Chris? 52? Wow. And in the wild, their lifespan is 30 to 40, because after that first year, there's no natural predator. So it's probably what's getting them is like hard winters, because it's very hard on any bird of prey in there, because a lot of their prey goes to ground, and you know. You okay? You okay? I trimmed his beak too short, so he's a little squared off right now. But he spikes me like a tiger. Yes, and as soon as he's good until you get the Dremel out, and then he just loses his mind. So, but anyway, I'm hoping that Beak, because he is very kept and goes to the doctor and stuff, I'm hoping to get 50 years out of him, and I'm 53. And I always joke with my kids that I'm gonna will Beak to them, and they're like, no. But I would like for you guys to be able to touch his toes, maybe when we get done. I handle these guys every day. They're very, very used to being touched. We have some birds, now of course nobody can touch him in the face, but he doesn't mind his toes touched, and his talons are extremely powerful, and there's 4 on each foot, and the back one is called a helix talon. They can rotate that forward should they need to. Wow. And probably with a large prey item, if they're on the ground and they're tussling around, they can rotate that other talon up and get a better grip. So, let me bring out some other ones. So, he weighs about 4 pounds, and a female would weigh a pound or 2 more. And he eats about a gray squirrel a day. So he has a big appetite, and remember I was telling you guys about his owl box? He will eat whatever it is and then stick it in there, and I have to go in there and clean it out, and he doesn't want me to. He wants it to be gross and have all this yucky stuff in there. But last night, instead of a squirrel, I gave him a big rat, and I have cameras in there just to watch over them, because I'm just a worrywart. But I could see him sitting on it and just pulling, and he'd fly around with it. And, yeah. And sometimes I have rehabber friends like Lynn. If Lynn had stuff that maybe had passed away, she'd freeze it for me and give it to me to give to the birds, and that was like enrichment for them. So if it was like songbirds, he loves those. He loves to tear their wings off. I know it's horrible, but
This is great horned owl courtship season, November. Listen, you might hear them. They need more acreage than the barred owl. They love pine trees, pine forest, but you'll hear them, who's awake? Me too. Ooh, 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 ooh. In the mate. Ooh, 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 ooh. As a rule of all birds of prey that mate for life, they don't stay with each other the whole time. They take a break at the end of raising their family, and they don't wanna compete, and often they'll leave their home range so we can restock. And then they'll come back together, the male will come back and claim his territory. Who you left? Me too. Then she will come in, hi, and they go, oh wow, you made it. So, that's a general rule for most birds of prey, but, great horned owls start first, November, and she's usually on eggs, early January on.
This is Nugget. He is a red morph eastern screech owl, and you will notice, unlike little dude, but very much like Beak, he's tufted. So,
This gig here is showing off the tufts a little better.
Oh,
yeah.
They're nervous.
gray morph, red morph. These are the colors you're gonna see with eastern screech owls. Now, there's a little variation, like some of the reds have a little brown mixed in. Nugget's very red, fiery almost.
While we've got them close to each other here, you can see the size difference that is the gender difference. That's how we can tell.
Yeah.
This gig, the gray one here, is obviously a little bigger and heavier as the female. The females in all these raptor species are a little larger and heavier.
So they frequently do a trill or a whinny call, and it's when I come out and feed one fat mouse per owl a day, Nugget will call because he knows I'm bringing good stuff. So he'll be in his little nest box and he'll go. Now, these guys love a nest box, so if you're looking for an easy way to help a little bird of prey, put you up a nest box. Yeah, easy as can be. And kestrels, the smallest falcon in the country, the beautiful birds, have the streaks under their eyes, they love a nest box. Little dude, the barred owl, loves a nest box. Barn owls love a nest box. Now, yeah, and they're huge. The nest boxes they sell, you'd be much better off building for like $300 or $400 online, but they're huge. And if you can get a barn owl family to move in, oh, what will I say? And you're gonna meet her in a little bit. Beak, the great horned owl, they do not nest build. They just steal eagle's nest, red-tailed hawk's nest, or they'll get up in a big pine tree. A pine tree is a favorite of a great horned owl. These little ones, if they don't have a nest box available, they love holes in trees. A lot of times I end up, this is how we got Nugget. People cut their trees in the summertime when they should not. That's when these guys are having their babies and raising their young. And they love holes in old rotten trees. They love to nest in those. So when Nugget was an owlet, his nest tree was cut down and the tree hit the ground so hard that he was the only survivor. So, and I raised him, and he can't be released, and that's why he also had a shoulder injury. But you'd never know. He's very spry, and he's a cutie. Wherever. Yeah.
It gets a little friendlier than this.
Yeah, Fisket's not.
I don't know if Lisa touched on this, but one of the main injuries that we get in our rehab center is car strikes. That's 90% of what we get are owls that have been hit by cars. And that's generally thought to be because people throw food out of their cars. The owls don't come for the food, but the mice do. And then the owls in turn come for the mice. And they're just not well adapted to the traffic.
Especially Fisket, she looks like tree bark.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so you really, what Chris was telling you about these little guys getting hit by cars, we have got 2 eastern screech owls in the last 2 days. One of them came in with blood all over his face. He is concussed, so I will have him on anti-inflammatory to reduce the swelling in his brain for at least 3 more days, at least. And then he will have to stay for longer than that just to make sure that he's okay. The other one that came in has something that a lot of people don't know about. If an owl or a bird of prey, like a hawk or an owl, get hit by a car, a lot of times the trauma will cause temporary blindness, so they cannot see at all. So I have one right now that is completely blind, and if that's going to resolve, it usually resolves in under 14 days. Sometimes it's about 50-50. So we're finger crossing. Again, all you can do for that is supportive care and anti-inflammatory. I give them a shot of something called dexamethasone when they come in like that. It's like a big steroid. that can help, but nothing is guaranteed to bring their vision back. So we just keep them medicated, and you also have to feed them because they
They
can't
make
see
a
to
big
feed
noise
themselves.
from such a little bird. You can hear them
Sometimes you can put their prey on top of their feet.
I heard one once
and
because
they'll eat it
there
that way,
was like a
but
wooded
this guy
area
doesn't
next to
wanna
my
do that.
next to my backyard, and I heard one there.
Yes.
It's surprising how common they actually are.
What does he
You,
say?
if you walked in the woods at all, you would probably walk within 30 feet
Want
of
to do
several of
that
these
part,
owls.
but it's such a time of our
They're just so well camouflaged.
We don't have a good sense of their numbers because of how small they are and because they're staying hidden
The
during the
good
day.
thing though, we
You
are
can
a
guess
small
how often
nonprofit,
they
but we have a really strong working relationship
They
with the
typically
University
hide
of
in a hollow
Tennessee.
tree or
They
rocks
have
during
put
the day
titanium
because this
plates
is a
in
prey
legs
animal.
for us, titanium plates in wings,
Sometimes just a
all
little
kinds
head
of
poking out of a
pinning, and
woodpecker
we
hole.
work really well together, and
They'll
they
use a hollow
have helped
tree
us
and pull it
re-release
out.
several
Their
birds that
eyes
would
are
have
shut
had
or
to been put
squinted.
down
You
otherwise.
don't see them.
I think that's the coloration. It looks like a tree trunk. So they can peek out the hole there.
They come in either color morph here.
It's one of the few birds we have to absolutely call. And they can intermingle pretty six o'clock.
Nugget would probably be more successful around pine trees. Maple or sycamore. So it just gives that advantage for
We have more reds than grays in the south and then more grays than reds. And it's the colors
How high up in this breeze do they usually hang out? Do they go down to the top?
to put them on.
Well, just if you're looking for one during the day, just looking for a
Not
whole
that high,
time.
really. I mean, they reckon, I think the box is about 15 feet off the ground. I mean, they're not treetop birds.
15 and 20, I'd say. High by our standards.
Yeah, that's right. I think
This special guest, he released 2 great horned owlets at his house a couple months ago, and those were the ones that beat Ray's.
Yeah. And when we don't know where they came from, sometimes we will try to find people that have a big open area of woods, preferably near water. Because we don't know where they came from, we try to find an area that's not already someone's territory.
Now, he will nibble, and it really is like a nibble, and he was trying to hurt anybody, he uses feet. All birds of prey are gonna go to the feet. If they're threatened and they fear for their lives, and they're really upset, they're gonna fix you.
Like with the different, with the 2 different morphs, are they like, are both screech owls actually like considered the same species, or is one a subspecies of the other?
They are considered the same species.
Okay, so just a different color, so it's nothing more than just a different color formation. Like, I think it's also something that, like you see with the normal flicker, like how it has both yellow and red shafted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a color morph, a brown, it exists in Florida only. So we don't get them here.
The only owl locally that's been.
But he likes his nest box, and when I go out there a lot, his little face is and he'll call.
You know, they were eating the mice that we.
Do they ever prey on one another? Would a great horn go after a?
Yes, a great horned owl would prey on every owl that we brought today. You guys haven't even met the last one. They are tigers in the sky, so if they see an opportunity, they're gonna take it. It doesn't matter if it's other owls. But little dude, barred owls prey on screech owls. You know, not as often as great horned owls prey on other owls.
Just what's available.
But if there's an opportunity, they're opportunistic. Now, these guys are very small, as you can see, so they are prey items for a lot of things. So they rely on camouflage and hiding. And then when they're in their little tree holes, of course, they're quite safe.
On the barred owl? Yeah. His eyes are very dark. They are brown. If you get him in a little bit of sunlight, you can see the.
He's very tolerant. He likes the head strap. He loves that. Yeah, that's his thing. And when we do programs that are long, he just goes to sleep.
Do you have any relationship with the American Eagle Foundation?
He just pelleted. Fresh from the gizzard. He pelleted in my hand just now. Anyway, I'm so sorry. Did somebody ask a question?
I thought, really, when he was up here,
Do you want a paper towel?
He
I
just
thought he was
did.
getting ready to chuck one out.
Several little bones in it. Go ahead, I'm so sorry.
That means he's ready to eat again. He's cleaned out the tongue.
He's cleaned out the gizzard. He's ready to eat again.
Do you have any relationship with the American Eagle Foundation? Because they're gonna start rehabilitating lots of raptors.
Yes, they send raptors to us all the time.
Really?
Yes, Nancy Zagaya met me on my lunch break at work all summer long, bringing me birds. They just moved their facilities, so they're in Kodak now.
Right.
I'm hoping they'll take some of the strain off of us because we're a small nonprofit and they're a very large nonprofit. But yeah, we work very closely with them. We went to the ribbon cutting for opening the ceremony a couple weeks ago. It's going to be really big and really nice. It's going to be the largest raptor center in the country. But there's so many instances of where birds of prey being shot and poisoned and ran over that I know they're still going to rely on the smaller guys like us to help rehab. And we did. I mean, several birds. Great horned owls, kestrels this summer, red-shouldered hawks ×4. Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. But like I said, now that they've gotten moved, I'm hoping it will take a little bit of a strain off us. We are completely full at my house now. We have, let me think for a second. In the hospital, we have 4 great horned owls, 1 red-tailed hawk, 2 barred owls, 4 screech owls, the peregrine falcon, and 1 barn owl. I think that's all. I can't remember. There's so many. So I go outside and I just I just go in a big circle because a lot of them are on medicine right now. You know, especially the ones that I just got the last couple of days, the 2 screech owls and a barred owl. All 3 of those were hit by cars, so they have to be medicated every day. It's a lot, but it's a labor of love. We have federal and state permits because all of these are native species and they are federally protected. So you have to go through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to get your permits, and then we also get inspected yearly. Anybody want to tell it?
Great door front.
I'll just stick it in my pocket.
Lisa raised a good point about
Is that good?
poisoning. That's another big
Yes.
one that we get. And people will put out poison for mice and rats. It doesn't kill them
beautiful.
quickly, so they're weakened, they're staggering around, they're easy prey. In turn, the predators ingest the poison and we get a lot of them. So if we do have a mouse problem, maybe try not to use poison because it stays in the ecosystem and it goes on to the next predator and will kill them.
Poison them directly, but poison mice. And again, guys, I'm going to put a plug in for them. You've heard they're inspected, they have to have permits, they get 0 funding. So any donations go to buy all of those mice and rats and quail. And vet visits. So we've got a donation box set right up here. So any donation, I will do the commercial part for them.
Generally not right before release. Sometimes there's a lingering injury that maybe you don't catch. Sometimes like a weakened blood vessel in the head, they can have a little aneurysm.
I had a kestrel that was gorgeous who had a terrible broken wing. They were repaired, put back together, but it was a blood clot and finally worked its way out. And one morning it just fell over.
It does happen, and it's very sad. You do everything you can.
How can this thing kill? But it kills mice. But it's cute.
They're predators.
Okay. Certainly last but
Hey guys,
not least.
while they're switching out birds, I'm gonna pass around a sheet. For those of you that aren't on our email list, that's how you find out about these talks. So I'm gonna pass this around, and at the very least, if you are on there, would you at least put your name so we can get a somewhat accurate count of how many people are here? Somewhat accurate. So I'll pass this around, and then in addition to the donation box up here, I'm gonna pass this around for anybody that can drop in some cash and donate a little bit. So I'll start them on opposite sides.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, this is the least common, because they originally lived in caves. Our ancestors built barns. They moved to the barns because the barns were full of mice. And our ancestors didn't want them in the barns. Our ancestors killed them. So they're just now slowly making a comeback to the area. They were released in the 1990s in Cates Cove and Seven Islands. That's two places you may see a barn owl, because there's barns there. Or there's at Seven Islands, one of them belongs to the silo beside the barn. So I've been doing this 20 years and I'm hyperventilating. I know.
This is Thistle. The barn owl, as Stephen was saying, she is exquisitely beautiful. These barn owls are some of the most widespread owls, but they're in serious decline here in Tennessee because their habitat loss. She's talking.
She's just hissing.
No, she's not. She's that's just her sound.
It's a conversational hiss. If you've ever heard the barn owl's call, it is bone chilling. It's a horrible, horrible noise. For such a beautiful bird, they have this shrill or shriek.
Yeah, it's a scream.
Yeah.
But she does that little rasping sound. That's not. But when she hisses, like for real, like she hates our dog, she'll hiss at him and she'll stick her tongue out and make a popping sound. So she's just looking around now. You'll notice Thistle's very long and elegant. They're very slender owls, very beautiful. Their legs are made for wading through grass. These girls, in her case, and guys, barn owls, they prefer a mouse. Now, they will eat whatever, like a little lizard or a little snake or something, but they prefer a mouse. One barn owl can eat upwards of 1,200 mice a year. They are a farmer's friend. Now, these guys love nest boxes. They can have huge clutches of babies. If the food is good, they're gonna have a really large nest, a really large clutch of babies.
I guess that's what confuses me, why they were hunted by farmers, getting rid of them in the barn, because you would think it would be a benefit to bring down the mouse population.
Just ignorance, I think.
Well, the truth is, and what I've
I mean,
read,
they weren't
from
stealing
what they
chickens or
said,
whatever.
you go out to the barn at night and this white thing,
Yeah.
Google their call, it's a scream, it would scare the
And
farmer.
some of the nicknames for barn owls are demon owl, devil owl, I mean, stuff like that. I know, and look at her, beautiful.
And would be an easy target because they're solid white.
People also like to say that they're creepy looking.
Oh, but I think they're beautiful. They're also called the monkey owl because they do resemble a monkey in the face. I think this was exquisitely beautiful. She does not mind being handled. She will sit the glove. She's great. This was under a year old. So, like I was telling you all, raptors grow fast and mature fast because they have to. If you grow slow out in the wild, something's gonna eat you. So you gotta feather out fast and become a skilled hunter. She was kept illegally. We had this happen one other time with the barn owl. When people think that they want owls and they don't know how to take care of them, they don't give them enough calcium, and they get something called metabolic bone disease. This all came to me very, very young, so we caught it in time, but I still powdered her food with calcium and stuff for a while just to make sure, and I was feeding her full bone-in meals because I was worried about that. But she wasn't fed properly, and when we got her, she was so afraid she just sat like this, and now she's fantastic. Her ears are tiny and pink. And right on the edge of her face is, but I don't know if she'll let me show you guys, I doubt she will. Now her eyes are darker than the little dudes, they truly are just about black. Even out in the sun, there's not a whole lot of brown or golden colors in there.
Unfortunately, we live here in rural,
You
so
can hear her talking.
there's usually a commute for whatever volunteer is gonna come.
Talking, vocalizing.
We're in rural Ranger County, so a little over an hour.
You'll notice.
That's great for them.
Right.
Don't hear any traffic noise or anything like that, so.
These guys like to roost churches and raptors and stuff a lot, that's one of their nicknames, church owl. Because back in the day, they figured out a way to get in probably through the belfry and be in there, bobbing their head.
Like Stephen mentioned, they will live in the mouths of caves. Man-made structures, though, they like
This weighs a
silos, they
pound
like barns,
point
they like abandoned houses, church belfries. Take cavernous open space, yeah.
Consider a barn owl.
Like a lot of room, but they're like sandcastles.
Her size, it would be.
She is, it's a little hard to tell with barn owls by size and weight. They're closer than the other ones, but the coloration does vary. They're one of the most sexually dimorphic of the raptors. You can tell their gender on their coloration. We know she's a female because she has more of that rusty color, and the spots on her chest, the males very rarely have those.
And it was there were
They're
too
much
many
whiter.
babies for one parent to
Males are.
provide, so we raised them at our house.
There's a spectrum there, though. So there's cases where it's hard to tell.
We released one on our farm. These birds are so mysterious.
Short of an X-ray, you can't tell for sure.
Really?
If they don't settle in your barn, you're not gonna see them again because they're so nocturnal. You will see a great horned owl.
Probably the screech owls. You get a lot of screech owls.
You will not
And
see these guys at
people will say
twilight. They do not
they've
wanna
got a
come out
baby
until
owl.
full dark. They're very mysterious.
If it's not the season for
Other
baby
mysterious
owls, we know it's gonna be a full-grown eastern screech owl because they are so small, and they do resemble small great horned owls.
When she sleeps, it closes her eyes like a
Owls are hunting during the daytime. They would have some more smaller birds.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the crows, early on in our rehabilitation careers, we would release them before dusk, late afternoon, and the crows would come from miles around. Crows are smart, and they have a network. So you'd hear them calling to each other, and they would just come from every direction and hassle and heckle the bird until it roosts, and then it has to wait until nightfall to escape. So yeah, if they're hunting during the day, they're gonna get hassled.
So we run up big bills and then he lets
Barred owls are probably the main one that you'll see while it's still daylight. You'll see them at dusk, and sometimes early morning.
About a year and a half ago.
It's the barred owl, not the barn owl. The barn owl is very nocturnal.
How big are a couple of owls? Yeah, like the one that y'all showed today this week?
He's fairly small.
Okay.
He's a little dude, that's his name. Females, again, are the third larger, so I mean, they're a good bit heavier. And there's some variation depending on their diet growing up. I mean,
We've got too many people to do
he's small even for a male. So.
But Sissel's completely used to being touched.
We had one in our woods.
All of my birds
It was
are
as
being
tall as
touched every day.
to my, yeah, to my knee.
And now some of that is they do have a defensive tactic for the puff up.
But they're very extraordinary
make
compared to
themselves
other
look much
birds. There's
bigger
no
than they
other
are.
bird marked like this. They're just so beautiful.
Horned owls will do that too. They'll actually invert their wings and puff up. And they look enormous. They look like a turkey.
Thistle does something all barn owls do that is exclusive to them called toe dusting. Many of you all know what toe dusting is?
Still is there.
Hey, Stephen, can you put,
looks so big and
Stephen, can you show toe dusting up there on the screen?
Do what?
Toe dusting that barn owls do. They get down and they go,
No,
but they dip like this and they touch their faces to their feet, hence toe dusting. But the whole time, now she's stretching.
Whoa! Get that photo!
I know, right?
Oh.
Hold it for a second. But the whole time they're toe dusting, they're pumping their beak and hissing and going, no, 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 no. And it's thought that they're trying to confuse a predator, because why would a prey be like, you know, and shaking their head no and dipping, and it's very unusual. When you all go home today, look up barn owl toe dusting. No other bird does it. It is crazy, and they make that sound the whole time. It sounds like a train coming down the track.
Toe dust.
I'm gonna see if she will free fly. We're training her to free fly. She does it great at home. There's a lot of people here today. I don't know if she will or not, but I've got a dead mouse in my pocket. Or Chris does. Chris has a dead mouse in his pocket. But then I gotta try to get her settled.
They may fly this way.
This is not her meal, so.
No. Toe dust.
So let's try to fly her. She may or may not do it, because there's a whole lot of people here.
This one.
I don't know, she's pretty distracted. When I know she's gonna work, she's real laser focused. And right now, she's too busy looking at everybody.
We'll work on it.
Now, something else that barn owls do is a little different from other birds of prey. They will nibble like tenderizing for forever. When you feed beak, if he can swallow it whole, he's gonna swallow it whole. She will tenderize it, spit it out, tenderize it, spit it out, tenderize it, spit it out, and then maybe finally she'll eat it.
Looking for a place to go perch.
Yeah, she wants to go perch somewhere and pull a kidney or something out now, but we're not gonna let her do that here.
They also have to, crush up the skull, make it easier to swallow.
It's when they're proventriculus, they're pre-gizzard, when they compress it, sharp bones. I mean, it's a tough organ, but they can still perforate that if they don't get it kind of tenderized like she's doing.
Now, hawks and falcons and eagles have something called a croc, which is just a pre-digestion sac right here. Okay? So you all are seeing something really cool right now.
Don't chickens have something like that? No, I mean chickens.
Yes, they're a croc. So the croc is the pre-digestion sac, and if the hawk has had a really big meal, you'll see this big bulge. Okay? Owls don't have crocs. So what she's eating right now goes down the proventriculus into the gizzard. In the gizzard, it compresses fur and bone real tight. And then she might pellet here too, just like Nugget did. Who knows? But her pellets are about that big, about 3 times the size of Nugget's, and round and real tight. And when you dissect them, of course, it's bones and it's fur. Yes, sir. Do you have a question?
You were asking me, right? Aren't barn owls like different from other owls, like I think like relation wise? Because if I remember correctly, like they don't fall in the same family as other owls, and they're their own species.
They're just very different. They'll live communally, and most owls are not going to do that. And there's just a lot of different ways that they are just extraordinary. Their hearing is better than any other bird of prey. Cornell did a test on barn owls' hearings, and they tested higher than any other animal ever has. So they're just extraordinary. So you guys are seeing this, and there's probably an organ on the floor over here. But this is how they eat, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's fun to
Now,
watch.
what's interesting is sometimes Thistle and all of the other birds will sometimes do this, and I have no idea why, but they will disembowel their meal, lay the intestines out to the side, and then eat the rest. But then other days, they'll swallow the whole mouse whole. So who knows? So right now, she seems to be piecing hers up.
Did she tear the head off?
Yeah, she probably tore the head off.
The head's already gone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hold him over you guys.
We're good. That's what you need it for.
So down the hatch, and I won't feed her again until tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Now, what we've been doing with Thistle is we've been free flying her. She's so smart.
I don't know why I did that.
But she's very motivated, and when she's in a working mood, she's kind of laser-like focus.
That would have been cool just watching me eat a squirrel.
Nobody wants to touch you now that you've been eating.
Imagine just watching her tear the orchid out of a squirrel
All her breath
and
smells
then ripping the
terrible.
fur out.
It's- Every single bird I've ever handled has the worst breath ever imagined.
Because they,
I guess because they're on the carnivore diet, and it's, yeah. And their excrement's very loud as well. Yeah, it's very aromatic. When they go to the bathroom and they'll travel boxes in the carrier, we all know it like real fast. Do you guys have questions about this one?
How old is she?
She's under a year. So she's very young.
Is she gonna grow more then?
No, she's full size.
what is her life?
In the wild, oh, it's bad. It's like 2 or 3 years. Yeah, it's very short because, you know, they have things preying on them like great horned owls and whatnot. And one of the main killers of barn owls, though, is rodenticide. People do not think, and they put out rat poison. The rat eats it, runs outside. Of course, she is going to eat that, and then she dies. Now, we get birds that have been poisoned in. If we can catch it really early, we can run charcoal down them, absorb the poison, and sometimes save them. But by the time usually they get to me, they're all I can do is ease their passing. So, which I gladly do if they're really suffering. Of course, nobody likes euthanasia, but that's a harsh reality in rehab work. But yeah, they get poisoned a whole lot, which is terrible because they're so beautiful mixed with it. But again, if you guys are looking for a project, build a barn. They're huge, but you can adhere them like to the side of a barn, stick them up there, or a big pole. A lot of the places that sell them will sell you the pole too. They're several $100s. I think at least 15, at least. And you want to put what's it called, a backle around the pole to keep anything from crawling up or anything like that. If they will successfully raise their babies there 1 year, they will traditionally come back and use that same barn. Yeah, you can put them in trees. You can. A lot of people just stick them on poles, like out in the field, or on the forest edge, or on the side of the barn. A lot of people do that, just put a hole in the barn, put up the actual box inside the barn, so they use the hole as the entrance and then they come in. Yeah. It's a really big box, so you want to put it down. Do you guys have any questions about this one? If any of you are really wanting to touch an owl, I do have some birds that do not mind it and don't stress, otherwise we would not do it. So we're going to be here for a few minutes. If you guys have questions, maybe someone else will tell it and I can give you guys that.
Would you mind going behind the counter and holding the leaves in the background? Would you love people would like that? Photo op. Except turn around, baby.
She's gonna look at that for a second.
She likes the tree.
I'll try to get her to turn around. Did I just hear a call? It sounded like a barn owl call.
That's me.
Oh, okay. It sounded like a barn owl call.
I'm working on it.
That was his mating call. He was trying to get
Oh, okay.
lucky. Yeah.
They do scream. Now she doesn't because she's never distressed, but yeah. I really do want you guys to look up toe dusting when you leave here today. It's amazing.
It is a hair-raising scream.
Yes. And just the little head shake that they do is hilarious. And when we're handling Thistle, because we have other pets too, but obviously they don't hang out together. But if she sees one of our cats or our dog, she hates our dog Odin, she will already start going. You know? And she see her little tongue stick out. Did you get it?
Yeah, it was a little overexposed. That's okay.
Okay.
Won't you?
Okay. Would anybody like to put a glove on and hold her? We can't do everybody.
I was gonna say, and we didn't.
Yeah, we can't do everybody, but a couple of people. Oh, yes, listen to this, you guys. This is good. What was that?
That's a team version. I've heard far worse than.
Left hand, falconry gloves are always on the left hand.
Oh, here.
So we're just gonna do a couple of people, okay? If we had a smaller group, we would try. So my educational birds that we train, we teach them to step back. Now, most of the time they will do it. You might want to sit there. So we put pressure on the back of their legs, and we say, step up, step up, step up. And then you'll clip her in. And you bend your arm, and you just take your leash, and you pinch it. So that way, if she does fly off the glove, which is called fading, the falconry glove, she's just gonna have this long, you pinch it, you keep her on a short leash. And she's wanting to fly up there.
She's that hummingbird over there.
Yeah. She is so spoiled. She really is.
Lisa,
Yes.
could you do Caden? He's one of our best pupils.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I'm gonna put her on.
Caden will end up at Cornell, trust me.
Okay, come on down. We need to talk more about barn owls anyway and how they're different from other birds. Sit back. Sit back. And you're just gonna pitch your leash like you already are. And there you go.
Can I ask a question?
Oh my word.
So you see her head's on backwards right now.
Excuse me, do you always have to use the left arm? Like what if a human has a bad left arm? Can they do falconry with the right arm?
Yeah, you would just have to order a special glove.
Okay, but it can be done?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Just bring her back here. I like to let people touch as much as possible and hold if everything is done respectfully. That's just for life with raptors, but I like to make it real for people. If you keep everybody at arm's length, they're not gonna care as much. But if you can see a bird up close like this and appreciate them, then there, maybe somebody will go home and build a box. Maybe somebody will tell their neighbors to stop putting rodents out.
Hang on tight. Casey does fly. Good job.
So you're fine. That's just her talking.
I know, but
Mr. Caden, that's something I've never done.
That's an exclusive club. People that have touched a barn
If we can do
still
two
have
or
their
three
fingers.
more, guys.
Yes. Merry Christmas.
I had a barn owl, our food fight.
There's your Christmas card photo right there. We do this.
These guys usually breed in high summertime. If I'm gonna get an owlet, that's probably June, July, around in there. Horned owls are gonna do January and February, and then I'll get the owlets that are in trouble in March.
The owlets typical.
With horned owls, 3 to 4, screech owls about the same. Barn owls depends on the food. That's how they're different from other owls. If the food sources are really good, they can have huge clutches. And they're wonderful parents and get them raised up. If food is scarce, they either won't lay that year or they'll have one or two apples. Screech owls, 3 to 4. All of these guys brood their eggs about a month and a half, maybe a little bit less. They stay with their parents a couple of months and they grow fast, but they will stay in the same territory as their parents for much longer and learn, I'm sure.
Second question, I've always wondered, since they're nocturnal and they have to go hunting, what their vision is like.
when I was much younger, I had pretty good night vision. I could see some detail, but they're obviously seeing much greater detail. Is there night vision like we see on TV with night goggles?
They see in shades of gray all the time. Their vision is, well, their eyes are 30 times more sensitive than our eyes. So they have no fear when it comes to being able to see, especially at night, because a lot of other animals, like the ones they eat or other birds of prey, cannot see nearly as well. They see like we do. These guys. Interesting barn owl fact. As the bird ages, let's say Thistle's elderly, their hearing does not decline like ours does. So they maintain the same perfect hearing and sight.
A lot of these rabbits that are very farsighted to spot their prey. But if you get up close, they don't see well, but like many of us, they could use reading glasses. But that's the spot prey, so their focal point is further out. Once they make their move, it's not as important to see once they get close. In fact, they have a membrane they can pull up over their eyes, a third, whatever, to protect the eye. Nictitating
Now, I
membrane.
would let Thistle face out that way, and she knows that, but I'm gonna let her get away.
It protects their eyes, because they're very important to them.
I always have the bird face me so I can see their body language.
Different types don't get along.
So she's fine.
They do not, and in fact, the great horned owl will feed on all these other owls that we have with us today, especially the Screech owl, but also the barn owl and barred owl.
And so far, her bones have not been adversely affected by the surgery. Oh, yeah. Their hunting style is
They're not
very
actually
different
solid.
from other owls.
They're very dark brown.
They will shoot straight up in the air and slam down and stomp.
With one exception, it's thought to be the time of day that they
I get dog toys for her, and like little balls and cat toys, and I roll them across the floor, and she goes up, hovers for a second, slams down, runs
in the
across the
early
floor,
evening.
jumps on it, hits it real
just
hard.
after dawn sometimes.
That's
the exception.
for her.
Otherwise,
I see the other
big
owls
bright
and
eyes
hawks in the
allow
water a lot.
light
I
in.
never see her. I don't ever. Now she'll sit beside it, maybe look in there, maybe put a toy in there.
They can see
She
pretty
never
well in the
gets
daytime, like she was saying when they take over an eagle's nest. They're not at a disadvantage in the
One more
day.
young person right
They
there.
should be sure, but they can see just fine.
Do owls have multiple phobia, like they say a lot of the daytime predators talk
They
about?
have what's it called, binocular vision, so it's straight on.
But not multiple phobia for focusing on things.
No, but the peregrine falcon does. They can see 3 moving objects at one time. They can climb to 3,000 feet in the air. They can dive at over 200 miles an hour. The fastest one on record clock is 242.
Wow.
And they also have an eye adaptation, peregrines do, that allows them to dive at speeds like that without, doing that and being blinded like we would if we were going high speed.
I've got a question. You mentioned calcium supplements for birds. Do you give them to all the owls or no?
Just a bird that was under special stress like she was and was being fed properly, but also you can do it with a bird that's coming over a broken leg or a broken wing. If it's a big bone especially, they're gonna need a whole lot of calcium to knit and make new bone, so I will powder their food a little bit. But we try to feed really good full bone-in food, and that's a lot of things that people do wrong. They feed just organ meats. Your bird of prey cannot live just on organ meats. They need bone. They need calcium.
You've been reading about the owl houses, they all have stop placement being near a natural source of water.
But she won't get in the water.
Is that also a deal breaker because I live?
Absolutely not. Water is just a source of crawdads for a lot of owls. Barred owls love crawdads, they love frogs. She would probably eat that too, but she'd rather have a rodent. They like to bathe in it, but most places have creeks or something like that. Because their territories are usually a couple miles, and they're pretty resourceful with that supervision and super hearing. And she is probably listening to everybody's heartbeat right now. Because like I said, she tested in the Cornell lab higher than any other animal ever that had been tested. So I'm sure
I could also show it to people from enforcement and get class and be like, you're nasty owl. You people shouldn't come to
Raise your hand, who's going next? We're gonna do three.
They can, they're not gonna like each other, but they can coexist.
Yes, owl big primary when these birds molt in the wild, they cannot be non-flight, because that would be very bad and something would get them. So when they molt the big flight primary feather on the right side, they molt the exact flight primary feather on the left side. So they're never non-flighted and
They've seen so many birds come and go and they're not given the opportunity. Yeah, when they're not in their enclosures, they're, in an enclosed barn where we're going to work.
Yeah.
What other dog do you have? What's Odin?
Odin's an Anatolia shepherd. And he's there to keep the
I was
coyotes.
gonna say, he started to hurt.
He does a good job.
For several years, and when they when they retired, when those ladies retired, I applied for my state permit. Once I got approved and inspected, then I applied to U.S. Fish and Wildlife for my federal permit. Finally got approved for that, and they don't get in a hurry. We all know how the government is. So I had enclosures completely built for forever before they were allowed to have birds. Right now, we are building a 100-foot long L-shaped flight cage for bald eagles.
Yeah, I was praying to when we could go out.
If they see it moving around, they will bomb them, yes.
Well, no.
Again, that'd be a very risky move. Typically, they're not gonna take the risk.
Oh, yeah, I know the place you're talking about. It must be pretty good. Yeah, I know, right? It's got a menu on it.
I could be wrong.
I hate those. You really don't.
They have a Black Friday sale I'm really looking forward to. I also buy quail from them for the caravan.
That's so cute. You looking up on the internet? Oh, you went.
Love to eat other birds, so I buy quail and stuff for them. That's mainly what the peregrine's eating right now. He will eat mice, but he prefers quail, so he's 4 to 5 a day. He's also ending bone right now, so I'm really letting him eat.
We'll never be good at it.
And of course, all my falconer friends are like,
This is
I'll give
the
it
second
well,
best
because the
outcome
peregrine is what every falconer
have
wants,
for
I think.
the best outcomes
But
right
he's
back
going
where it
back out in the
came
wild
from,
as
in the wild,
soon as possible.
living its life.
Dr. Jones,
This is the second best
who
outcome.
is
Any
the vet
outcomes
for
other than
American
that
Eagle
are
Foundation,
pretty grim.
said that when he's ready for conditioning, which will be about 2 more weeks, he's gonna use the drones, but he will take him, he'll go
We
on
have-
short
we have
flights
placed
first,
some
and eventually
state
take him up
parks
to 1,000 feet.
that have like a
And they
static
can hunt
display.
lures and get him,
In fact, they've got a Screech
they're
out going
fast, so he needs to be
Reelfoot
fast,
Lake
and right now,
in
as he's
West
making
Tennessee.
bone, he's doing something called
Coming
calcing.
next
And that's where there's like a scar
Our
tissue
rangers coming to get him.
healing
We've
over
got
that
all the
bone right
paperwork
now,
and
it's a knot.
federal government's gotten all their red tape.
So he's gonna have all kinds of physical therapy and be.
You would think the oversight would include some
Yeah, it's gonna be cool, I'm excited.
funding, but the
Oh, she's
oversight
just talking, she's not his thing, she's just going. Yeah.
with
I think they're so beautiful that to level the playing field, they weren't given a nice call like the other animals. Cause she's a looker. And she'll step up from the front or the back. Real fast, I've got two more ladies.
That's why I got their card. I'm gonna see if I can go over their facility.
Do you know where the clipboard is?
Did we miss it?
I don't know.
Oh, it's in the back still, okay. We were just about by.
Freeze it?
I do, I freeze it, and I thaw it. So she eats not very much, because she just weighs 1.2 pounds. When she's in training, I fed her food very slightly, so she's very motivated. It's not harmful for her at all, but it makes her very focused. I'm getting there.
Okay. She knows what's going on.
And just let her look at everybody. We're coming.
I know,
It
no
takes
worries.
time.
I understand. She stayed for about 3 weeks. She won't sleep up there.
Who's my last person? Now, Thistle doesn't have the brute strength that Beak does, but she's extremely sharp. Now, I handle all of them without gloves sometimes, just because it's just, sometimes I just don't have a glove on me. But she has a knack for sticking her talons in between my fingers and about killing me. There you go. But her long legs are made for grassland hunting. They love to hunt in open fields and farms. There's not a lot of farms and stuff left, part of the problem. They hover, so they fly completely silently. Like when Beak flies, he also flies silently, but he's so big he puts wind off. When she flies, I don't know where she is. She can be all over her enclosure and it's just amazing. But they love to hunt open fields, and they'll hover and fly real low, and then, you know, with their great vision and their great hearing, they hone in on whatever rodent, and she would slam down and just talon it to death because she's so sharp. She's just amazingly sharp. Not strong, in fact, she's almost delicate, but is she just incredibly sharp? Yes, absolutely.
How big's her enclosure? How big is
30 feet. And she has a pool with river stones that she never gets in. And she has several perches. All of the birds of prey have to have specialized perching. You can't just put a regular perch. They have to all be covered in really rough turf, like knobby turf, rubber, plastic, whatever, otherwise, as long as it's really hard, because they get something called bumblefoot otherwise, and it will literally eat their feet off. So that's the thing. People want to get owls or keep them as pets illegally, and they don't know all that, and they end up harming the bird. Stephen, it's your turn.
He may nibble if you get him near the hand.
He may not give it back.
I know, he's gonna owl nap Thistle. You're good, girl. Stephen, she sees that up there, she wants to perch on it, so just come over here.
It's okay, baby. Hey, you're okay.
Picture of him with it.
Lower your finger. So cute looking. Thistle.
A first for this guy.
There she goes. Oh, that's beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah, there's your Christmas card.
Aw, that is a good Christmas card.
And I think we're ready to wrap up. But again, a huge thank you to Tiffany and Warren and the rest of their great staff at Rainbow. I'm going
Anybody
home
wants to
now.
touch your feet really fast, we can touch your
Wow.
You know what I mean?